Hi BookTube. So I wanted to sit down and do a catch-up video with you because I haven't filmed anything in a bit. I had a hectic week, and then after that I just got off the filming train. Like, I feel like for me at least, if I don't do it consistently, then it's just easy for like, oh, I'll get to it the weekend, and then oh, I'll get to it next weekend, and it just like snowballs into a thing. But there are so many events I'm participating in the month of July that I didn't want to not make a video on all the things I'm reading, because I don't want to just silently participate. I wanted to, be more active in these reading events. So I thought before I get into the books I am reading and what I'm doing, I would briefly mention what I read in June. I read 28 books, and I've been doing the whole storygraph thing, and I like how at the end of each month I can get a picture of all that I read, so I thought I would just briefly share that with you. And some of these, I know the first part of the month I had covered, because I remember talking about some of these here. But I was focusing on June on the Range type books where they were Western themed, most of them. Like a lot, this book here, Dear Madam, is focusing on a woman who's moving to Happy Camp, California. And I never thought I'd read a book about Happy Camp, but because it's a really small town. But I read a book about Hell's Canyon in Oregon. And let me see here, the Freeland, the book I read by Rose Wilder Lane, was very disappointing to me. I've heard some mixed reviews about Rose Wilder's books, and this for sure lived up to that kind of reputation. I did not enjoy it that much, but I had some books I really did enjoy. The Driftwood Valley, I really liked that one, about a couple that were naturalists, and they moved to way north, British Columbia, out in the wilderness for like years on end with no contact with anyone. So that was interesting. Let me see. I read Carl Sapana's The View from Lazy Point. That was a book about a biologist in Long Island, and then he goes all over the place. Like, it seems to be almost every season he's going, I'm going to turn down the brightness a bit, he's going to a different location. I read a Debbie Mako, where I was like trying to switch up the kind of books I was reading. I read a Sweet Valley High book. This book, Etta Mae's Worst Bad Luck Day by Anne B. Ross. I have been making my way through Ross's series and highly enjoying them, but this one is focusing not on the main character, and I don't know why the main character is escaping my mind. And it's so small I can't even read the I can't read yeah, but she only wrote one series, but I can't think of the name of the main character. But it focuses on an older woman who's very proper and has her raising kind of thing. And then Etta Mae is the character of where she's very opposite from the title main character, because she lives in a trailer park and is just like scraping by with things. And so I've always liked her as a side character, and this is the first book starring her, and I had such high hopes for it, but it was not good. At least for me, I didn't care for it at all, because it has this like wacky story of, she it has like a backstory for her of she was previously, before we know her in this series, she was engaged to a man that seems to be like in his 90s or something. He's paralyzed, he's coming out of a stroke, but he's very wealthy, so it's like her ticket out of poverty. And it was just the weirdest story, because it seems somewhere, I feel like she's like 25, 30, and he's in his 90s. And even her grandmother, she goes to her grandmother's house to check on her, and the grandmother is talking, her own grandmother is talking about how this guy is like, it looks like he's on his last leg, ready to die off any minute. And he's constantly like falling asleep everywhere. It was just the weirdest story. Yeah, it was like cringe. It was like cringing for me. It was just, I did not, and even that kind of story, it could be funny, but it just didn't come off as funny to me. And then I read a couple of other random books. The Story of Ice Cream. I found this at the Library Library last year, and I was saving it for the summer. So yeah, I just read a couple random assortment of books at the end. And then yeah, speaking of summer, I have my summer, like my summer is booked shirt. I saw this shirt on what is her channel name? Libraries and Labradors. Last year she was showing a sweatshirt that she got with this on it. So I found a t-shirt that I liked with the same logo. So yeah, like, why not have I do like a bookish t-shirt now and then. So yeah, that's what I read in June. And then, so for July, I am participating in the DeckofTBRathon hosted by Chloe and Becca, and I will leave a link in the description below to their channels. And that's where you draw a card, and I have my goofy set of cards here. And here's like what you get. I've had these cards for a while. Every DeckofTBRathon I've been using these cards. But so you draw a card, and each card gives you a different prompt. Actually, I have a picture of it I can show you. And so I have been like, kind of like, I'll saying how I didn't want to silently participate in things, but I've been silently participating in this because I didn't sign up for the event officially because I'm really bad at recording my points. I've been recording them in my notebook, but not like on their page. So you draw a card, and so for example, and they have this all like laid out, which is really nice. And so it's called the DeckofTBRathon. And so for example, let me turn the brightness down again. I swear it keeps going up or something every time I turn it down. It's like a kind of auto function. But so you see you have the cards here. And it doesn't matter if it's like a heart or a spade or red or black. It's just the number. And it gives you these different prompts here. Hopefully you can see that. So the ace is like a freebie. It's kind of like a bingo in a way. And so like for a seven, it's a poll. So you can poll people to like by the title, author, or an emoji. Like for card number 3, it's birthday. So it's like your birthplace, your birth month, your birth year, things like that. And then you have the face cards as well. So this is like a fun way for me to go about my month. And so I have been tracking what, again, because I'm not officially putting these in there, but I thought it'd be fun just to look at what I have. So I've been like color coding by day. So I started off with a bunch of books at the beginning of the month. So I have been using this to participate in a bunch of different reading events. So this is like the DeckofTBRathon, but then I'm of course participating in Jane Austen July. How can I not? I have already read Pride and Prejudice. I just finished it this weekend, and I want to read all the things by Jane Austen. My audiobook right now that I selected using the card game is the Jane Austen's Bookshelf, I want to say is the name of it. And that author is a book collector and a bookseller of rare books. And so she is, and it was like, this book came out last year, I want to say, and it was like all the rage. I just wasn't able to get to it last summer. But I'm listening to it now, and she is talking about all these different authors that Jane Austen herself read. And I want to read all of them, every one of them, like now. But so I finished Pride and Prejudice, and I want to at least read, I'm hoping to read Lady Susan, Northanger Abbey, and Persuasion are the ones I would like to get to this month. That's a tall order considering I want to read all the other books in addition, but we will see. I did read the annotated edition, but when I got this for $1, I think, at my library bookstore. And I was like, so excited about it. And like, there's tons of pictures and everything. And I do really like it. This is the David M. Shepard series. But I like it. But like the font itself it's okay. It's readable. But the notes are like extra small. I feel like they're like size 8. It's like I feel like I need a magnifying glass because each chapter has so many notes. Each page has so much. And so I ended up reading this on I got an ebook copy from my library, but as I was going through it, like each like sentence has a number corresponding to the notes, and the little numbers on every sentence, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it was so distracting that I ended up going from this to the ebook copy of this to just the plain Jane like Gutenberg edition where there's no notes. It's just the book. So but I am appreciative to have this, and I did refer to the notes a couple of times. I had both editions on my Kindle, so I went back to look at this sometimes, but I didn't use it because it's a reread for me. Like, I have reread Pride and Prejudice many a time. It's my favorite Jane Austen book. So yeah, I kind of sort of read this edition, kind of not. But I had a good time reading Pride and Prejudice. And yeah, I'm really liking the audiobook, the Jane Austen's Bookshelf. And I also got the physical edition on my, not the physical edition, the ebook book version, so that I can take some notes and look up some of these authors, because I have occasionally like stopped what I'm doing, listening to the audiobook to look up the authors, but there's so many authors mentioned that I need to do some research on. So that's kind of like catching up to speed of what I've read so far. And then that's what I'm currently reading. So yeah, hold on. I talked about I'm reading books for Jane Austen July, and I want to read some books for Summerween, where you're reading like Halloween themed books. And then there is the Christmas in July. So I think I have at least one Christmas book on my shelf that I would like to get to participate in that, because it just feels, for me, it feels weird, like the hottest month of the year basically to be reading a Christmas book, but I can read one and be okay. Maybe if I read a Christmas book that's set in like the beach or something, or Florida, I could handle that, but I don't have any of those at the moment. But yeah, other than that, I think, is that all the reading events I'm doing? I feel like there's a couple more, but anyway, those are the main ones. And as far as what I'm currently reading, so I am reading Libby, The Alaskan Diaries and Letters of Liddy Beeman, 1879 and through 1880. And these are collected by her granddaughter, Betty John. And so here's Elizabeth on the cover here. And I am on page 31. So it's her diary collection, but it's opening up basically as like a biography of herself, because she even talks about on her first diary entry how like, oh, I have to consider, is this going to be for the public, or is this for me? Because she's kind of a public figure. Her family is very well connected. And it opens up talking about how in the 1860s during the Civil War, her family was friends with Abraham Lincoln, the president at that time. And so even before that, they were actively involved in the DC area. And so she comes from like a prominent kind of family. So anyway, she's talking about when she's making these diaries, like, is this going to be for the public? Is this going to be published? Because like not everyone who's a diary writer is like thinking that, you know? Like, we're not all thinking we're going to be famous, or people are going to want to read our diaries, but she is. And so I want to get a little backstory on that. But so it's open up with, she decides this is going to be for herself. And so her granddaughter publishes this like decades and decades later. But she, it opens up with her talking about that. And then it's the Alaskan Diaries, because there's a map here. She, her and her husband get sent on this expedition way out in the Bering Sea. So, let's see here so I can show you. So you have Alaska, and you have Russia, and these little islands, not the Aleutians, but the ones like way over here. She's on one of these, like the first like white people there or something, I can't remember, but it's St. Paul Island, the Pribilof Islands. And so she's like the first white, no, I don't think the first white people there, but she's the first white female to be going. And so they haven't arrived yet. Like already she's having trouble like just getting on the boat from San Francisco, because of course, you know, the sailor men don't want her there because like women are bad luck. And so she's like pushing all the boundaries in a way, because before she was married, even just her interests were controversial. Like no woman did what she was doing. Like she really wanted to go to college. Her father worked on, was it the cartographers, like the ones who make the maps? And so she wanted to be involved in that because she was a really good artist, but she couldn't go to art school or any kind of art classes, because that was considered like worse than women being actresses in the theater. And I had no idea at the time. I've never heard of that. I knew about the theater part, but not the artists, like painters. She really wanted to paint. So yeah, this has been interesting so far. I'm also reading Country Editor's Boy by Hal Berland. I recently read Gladys Tabor, Still Meadow Seasons, and I didn't want to just dive into the next Still Meadow book. I wanted a break from it. And so one of her favorite authors is Hal Borland. And I found Hal Borland, I want to say, before I found Gladys Tabor, so I went backwards about it in a way. But he writes a lot of nature books. He writes memoirs. He writes books about dogs. And this one is written in 1970, but it's about his time as a boy in small town eastern Colorado. And I looked it up on the map. It's Flagler, Colorado. So it's way on the plains side. Like you can't even see the mountains, the Denver at all. The Rocky Mountains. He's so far east. But this is taking place from like 1910 to 1915 or so. I read another book talk about his younger childhood years, like High Wind and Lonesome, or I can't remember exactly the name of this one, that one, but this one's like taking place from 1915 to 1918. So he's a little bit older. I think he's like 13, 14 years old at the beginning of this book. But it's about his family moving from a homestead in northern eastern Colorado, and now he's in like the middle part. But it's very interesting to read about this town because the father moves there thinking, oh, this is going to be a boom town. The wheat fields are growing really well, and so he's going to be a newspaper man, and he's going to have like the best newspaper in the town. I got a bad feeling about all this, but they're making do so far. But it's all about his story, and like just the time. It just sets you like in a time machine. You know, you're going back to 1915, small town, Colorado, when there's no electricity, there's no running water. Half of the right now, the part I'm at, the half the people in the town around about want community water and electricity, but they're not even an official town yet. They have to like at least get together to like, okay, we're gonna be a town, and like they're not even there yet with that. Because the people like don't want to do that socialism, like one of the guys is saying in here. So yeah, they're having a problem getting running water. But yeah, we will see how this ends. Hopefully okay enough. But yeah, so I am on page 170. I'm about halfway through. This is like the main book I'm focusing on in the afternoons after work. But yeah, highly enjoying this. Of course, Hal Borland like never disappoints. It's interesting to read like all of his different books. So like I said, I mentioned like how the different themes he's written in, but I have read a lot of those. I've read the books about the dogs. I've read the books about his childhood before this and his adulthood. He eventually moves to Connecticut near Gladys Tabor, but I haven't connected the dots yet of how he goes from this itty bitty town to Connecticut, but hopefully it'll be mentioned at some point. And then a book I'm kind of just flipping through. I'm trying to get through these like coffee table picture books I have. They just languish on my shelves. I'm interested in them, but then I just let them sit there. And last month I read this one, Great American West, Story of the Great American West. This is the Reader's Digest. This was really interesting because not only did it include pictures and like newspaper clippings, but also each chapter, I'm trying to find one, had an illustration of whatever they're talking about, a full diagram of this. So this one is the Santa Fe, what is this? The Santa Fe trading square or something. So it gives you like a full picture idea. It has like little notes of each little thing. I might give you as good of a description as I wanted to show, but I'll see if I can find another one. This one is the steamboats. So it gives you all these like ideas of what that was like a full diagram of it on top of your normal like photographs and newspaper clippings. So there was a ton of information in here. And this isn't just like the Pioneer West. I read this for June on the Range. This isn't just like the Pioneer West of like the Hal Borland book, the Colorado book. This is all of the Western expansion. So this is going from when like Jamestown and Plymouth were being settled and like the East Coast all the way through like the Louisiana Purchase and all of that. Goes all the way to California and Alaska and all that being settled. But yeah, so even though there's a ton of text in here, I did pick and choose the different descriptions I was reading. I mean, there is a ton of text, but I mainly just was looking at the diagrams and the pictures and some of the newspaper articles and things like that. But anyway, so I'm trying to read at least one of these like coffee table type books a month. So I am right now reading Witness to the Civil War, first-hand accounts from Frank Leslie's illustrated newspaper, and this is published by the Smithsonian. And I am on chapter 3, and this is another one where the font is getting to me because like you have this is okay, this is like small font, but this is like the description is like so small of what the pictures are. Like I can read the title okay, but all this itty bitty cursive or italics font is hard to read. But I'm on chapter 3. It's on to Richmond. But yeah, the illustrations that are published in these newspapers are just insane to me. Like how many there are, and like the illustrators of this newspaper were like so busy capturing all of these battles and everything. Here's some of the ships. and this is Beauregard and Major Robert Anderson. So like it gives you all of the pictures. This would be a good like companion to like a text of the Civil War. So if you want to like look at like what it looked like, I hoped that when I read this that it would also include, like, you know, when you read like a history book, it'll give you, so often it will give you a map of, oh, the enemy was stationed here and here on this hill along this fence or what have you, and then the people were here. You know, it tells you where the different regiments were. This doesn't do that, but it's interesting nonetheless. And then the last book I'm reading, I'm almost finished with. This is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, the illustrated Jim Kay version. I started reading the Harry Potter series a while ago, and then I saw a couple of booktubers were doing this reading event leading up to the new TV show, the adaptation. I'm not sure if we're gonna watch that or not. I might watch the first episode, but so yeah, and this is another kind of book I've had on my shelf for quite a while, but I haven't read it, but I am enjoying. But I'm finally getting to them. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying the illustrations. There's in this book there isn't as many illustrations as I would hope, but there is quite a few. This is one of the tournament. I don't know, I feel like everybody doesn't need much explanation from me, but I want to show you some of the pictures, and some of them are full. This is when they're at a dance, the Yule Ball, so you have a lot of the main dancers here. Yeah, I really like when it's like the full page illustrations. So I have I have the first through the fifth, and then the sixth one is coming out in the fall. So I'm gonna read the fifth one, like space it out, finish this one this month, and then read the fifth one maybe like sometime in September, so that I will be ready for the sixth one to come out. So that is what I've been up to, along with the usual work and chores and taking care of the animals and all of that. I'll try and insert a clip at the end of this of my cat Sawyer, because I had to move things here to sit, because you know how cats really like empty boxes. So there's an empty box and I have it sitting right here where I'm at, but I moved it. He immediately, oh, you're touching my box, I gotta go investigate. So he's like laying in there, and so he was playing with some string, and then Fable was like, what is he doing? So I got a little clip of them. Sawyer was so busy playing with the string that he like bopped Fable on the nose. But luckily nothing happened, but that was unexpected. But yeah, I will insert that now, but I will be back with more videos, and I'm going to try to be more active here on BookTube, because I do miss it. I'm always watching BookTube, even though I'm not always filming it, but watching it always makes me want to read more, and it makes me want to film more, and I just feel sad that I'm not filming more. So yeah, I need to get on that. But I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, BookTube. Careful, kitty.